Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Dear Chair, Excellencies, honored guests, ladies and gentlemen. I am pleased to be here today and participate in the second Spatial World Forum in Europe. My name is Sybilla Dekker, you have heard, and I am Chair of the Governance Board of the Netherlands Kadaster, Land Registry and Mapping Agency, known as Kadaster. And as the former Minister of Housing, Spatial Planning and the Environment, I have been and I am committed to the development of spatial planning. Today I will share with you my ideas how geoinformation can contribute to spatial planning and, in my opinion, to the economic development of a country. First, developments in spatial planning. Spatial planning starts with knowing the use of land and its ownership. Therefore, property and land registration, as well as legal certainty, are the two broad principles for economy and for democracy. But we have moved on. Nowadays, not only knowing its ownership is important, it is essential and possible in today's world to know many more details about locations, like coordinates of usage. A strong functioning property and land administration system offers legal certainty to citizens, businesses and public organizations. Therefore, it is also a major pillar for economic development. In the Netherlands, we face several challenges regarding spatial planning. Let me give you the example of how water was exchanged for land in Maasvlakte, the second harbor, to Maasvlakte 2. It is a major civil engineering project that will reclaim here in Rotterdam almost 2,000 hectares of land from the sea behind a 4-kilometer dike. The sand to create the dike was extracted from the sea, some 11 kilometers off the Dutch coast. In our small country, building on existing land is not enough to maintain economic growth. More specifically, the Port of Rotterdam needs more space in order to attract more business. So it was decided in our government in 2004 to establish a deep-sea container terminal. Traditionally, the Netherlands has a lot of knowledge on creating new land as well as on protecting the country against water, with dikes, polders and so on. The water is our friend and our enemy. Construction on the Maasvlakte 2, the second harbor, started in 2008, and the formal opening will take place on May the 22nd this year, over a few weeks. A part of the seawall was grown naturally over time, like a white sandy beach, followed by a row of dunes. This is good news for nature, as it will create a specific ecosystem, and it fits in a principle that taking land from nature with equal nature extension from land. But we give also nature back in the 3 areas around Rotterdam. Maasvlakte 2 will become a new top European location for port activities and industry, such as a new power plant. When operational, Maasvlakte 2, the second harbor, will have an added value for the economy and therefore for society. As Minister of Housing and Spatial Planning in 2006, I decided to create a new national spatial strategy for the Netherlands. The aim was to offer a spatial contribution towards a strong economy, a safe and viable society, and an attractive country. This was achieved by creating one national framework that all municipalities and public administrations used to create their local and regional spatial plans. This idea of taking one broad national perspective on spatial planning and using it towards more concrete policy on the local level is necessary for us in the Netherlands. It ensures that we make integrated decisions on the limited space that we have. One huge advantage of the strategy is that it combines policy for spatial planning, water, landscape, infrastructure, city development and housing. The plan made it possible to work on the realization of a country with not only beautiful, livable, healthy and vital towns and villages, but also on the so-called economic hotspots. Let me mention here the example of the city of Eindhoven in the south of this country. The so-called Brainport Eindhoven region is a powerful, innovative player in a European and global context. It accounts for a third of all Dutch private research development expenditure and is one of Europe's top 3 regions in terms of patent density. The economic success of Brainport Eindhoven region is the result of a unique cooperation among industry, research and government, which generates a very conducive climate for businesses. Here, 1 out of every 4 innovative companies cooperates with an international partner. Eindhoven created a vision by a symbiosis of business, science, art, culture and government. A few promising innovative ideas came from Philips. Combining the old workmanship with physics gave innovation a boost. Despite, or thanks to the reduction of the government funding, key factors were ambition, top education, innovation and new ways of cooperation. I believe that your field of geospatial information is also an example of a sector finding new possibilities. But back to spatial planning. On a national level, specific huge projects were decided upon. An example such as the project Maasvlakte 2 that I mentioned earlier. This project was not affected by the economic crisis, as were most spatial plans in these days. In the last 5 years, many European and other countries have seen a shift in economic development. Housing sales have fallen dramatically. Fantastic plans for new areas to live and work and create have not been realized. Houses are not being sold nor built. For example, in the Netherlands, in January 2006, the number of homes sold was 13,670. In January 2013, this year, it dropped to 6,260, a downfall of more than 50%. Office space remains empty with little expectation of finding new tenants. In 2012, more than 7 million square meters of office space was vacant in the Netherlands. This trend is being seen in many countries, like Spain and the US, but also in small countries like the Netherlands. In our country, we take and we have to take initiative to, for example, to convert office space into houses to live in. Also, Mrs. Lagarde, director of the IMF, emphasizes this last week, the importance for reforms. Last week, during her visit to the Netherlands, she stated that it is necessary to carry out reforms on our housing and labor market, and we are not the only country. At a certain point in time, all countries will face the challenges of coping with dropping housing sales, vacant offices and areas, and it means that we need to be also aware of the development of the rural areas where schools and shops vanish. The challenges are no longer aimed at local and national institutions. They are crossing borders on a regional and international level. We are all facing the same sort of challenges. That has one huge advantage. We can learn from each other and find solutions together. I find it surprising that so many people are still not aware of the importance of the possibilities of geospatial information and the insight in spatial planning. Its potential impact on the economic and therefore also for societies. Nowadays, people seem to care more about how information is accessible and available. Of course, it is very good to have quick and easy access to information through the internet. But our challenge is to create cross-border infrastructures that make reliable and accurate geographic information available for decision makers. I would now like to give you an example how two worlds, spatial planning and geospatial information, can combine. The Dutch government is proposing one legal system for environmental legislation that intertwines several numbers of existing laws and regulations. This new law has a strong accent on sustainable development and has two main goals. One is to achieve and maintain a safe and healthy physical environment of respectable quality. Two is to achieve and maintain a physical environment based on societal needs. Factual information, dus figures and facts, about the environment is an important basis for the decision making. In addition, decision makers need access to clear and reliable online information about applicable policies and rules. Therefore, the proposed law will provide principles for monitoring, documenting and reporting information. It will also obligate local information and public administration to maintain their information accurately and to make it easy to accessible. This law can only work in practice if local governments and provinces have the information to make one integrated plan and license possible. The principle of the new law is that all information that is geo-related can be linked to coordinates and to other information. This will only be possible when the information is up to date and in real time. It should also be known what the status of the information is. This link between available information and the new law is a good example of society seeking the relations between sectors. So there are two worlds meet. Spatial planning of the future can no longer function without a proper geospatial data information system. Decision makers, businesses, citizens can obtain all information on plan and licenses for spatial planning on the internet. Projects for the development of areas use digital available information to get a better perspective on the consequences of choices. The new focus on developments combines spatial planning, water management, environment, infrastructure and sustainability. The Dutch program Knowledge for Climate, of which I am chair, explores how the Netherlands can be made climate-proof. And through this program, some 300 researchers all over the world, consultants, policymakers and entrepreneurs are engaged in this endeavor on a daily basis. However, the harsh reality is that in day-to-day practice, the notice of climate change has to compete with so many other issues that seem equally relevant to the planners, designers and decision makers. I will give you another example of Rotterdam City. As a low-lying delta city with Europe's largest international port, Rotterdam takes its responsibility seriously in creating a sustainable city and region. By linking sustainable ambitions of a stronger importance and economy, Rotterdam will become the most sustainable world port city. The goal is 50% CO2 reduction, and you may be impressed by how this city is engaged in climate change research and simultaneously in the rapid implementation of the results while developing a world-leading climate-proofing strategy for the region. Be it green rooftops against urban heat stress or safe and well-integrated flood defenses and water storage systems. Is this example relevant for you in the geospatial world? I believe it is. Not only is geospatial information a basic requirement for developing a strategy and deciding on policies, it is also a very good example of a sector creating value for society. In every example I mentioned, there is a combination of what you called industry dynamics, innovation, and outreach. And I would like to end this speech by asking you all to continue to raise awareness on the importance of geospatial information as a tool for solving today's economic environmental challenges, and in that way create value for society. I wish you a very inspiring conference. Thank you.